The shalom that we are in need of is a shalom that surpasses. It's a peace that surpasses. In Judges chapter 6, verse 14, the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hands. Am I not sending you?" Right? I love the dialogue that is happening because it's Gideon versus God, and it seems like Gideon will just not budge. He's talking to God, for crying out loud, and yet he's so adamant that God is not there. He's so convinced that everything is just, cup is half full. And so God is just continuing to remind him, "Am I not sending you? Aren't you the mighty warrior?" Over and over. And he, again, "Excuse me, my Lord, but how can I save Israel?" And here it is. Here is that psyche, that mindset that we've been talking about. My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family. Aha. So that's where it's coming from. It's not necessarily the excuse that God is absent. It's actually his own internal struggle. He believes that he can't. Even if God's there, even if someone is assisting him, even if someone is providing all the help that he needs, when we feel unequipped, when we create the barrier in ourselves, I can't. Because I'm the weakest. I'm the least. The Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you'll strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive." You'll be triumphant. You are the mighty warrior. And this is where I think a lot of us falls into the wrong side of faith. I'm borrowing this from Erwin McManus, and I was like, man, he's so clever. It's the wrong side of faith. And let me read this quote before I explain. Worry is an act of faith. You have faith if you worry, because it is deep-seated in belief in worst-case scenario. Worry is not rooted in reality, but does affect our reality. I hope you caught that. Worry is an act of faith. It's believing in the worst-case scenario because it's not rooted in reality, but it affects our reality. And that's faith, isn't it? It's not rooted in reality, but it affects our reality. But so here's our choice. Which side of faith do we fall on? Do we fall on the worry side? It did not happen. Right? Faith is the hope that we have of what is unseen. Worry, it works the same way. So all of us who are worried, you have great faith. But it's in the wrong side of faith. You believe in the impossible. You believe in the miraculous, except it's miraculously bad. You believe in the impossible, but it's impossibly in a negative, terrible way. So it's not a matter of, I don't have faith, I don't have belief. No. It's a matter of, we're just in the wrong side. Because we've allowed the mindset of, I can't, to even influence our faith. To even influence our way of thinking. To even influence in the God who does the miracles. I hope you're understanding this. Let me read another book, portion from a book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Once you have adopted an identity, it can be easy to let your allegiance to it impact your ability to change. Many people walk through life in a cognitive slumber, blindly following the norms attached to their identity. For example, I am terrible with directions. I am not a morning person. So if you're sitting next to these two descriptions I just read, give them a little nudge on the shoulder and say, that's you. I'm bad at remembering people's names. That's me. I'm always late. That's blank. So I'm not good with technology. I am horrible at math. And the list goes on. And 1,000 other variations. And he continues, when you have repeated a story to yourself for years, it is easy to slide into these mental grooves and accept them as fact. In time, you begin to resist certain actions because that's not who I am. There is internal pressure to maintain your self-image and behave in a way that is consistent with your beliefs. You find whatever way you can to avoid contradicting yourself. Isn't that wild? No matter, he's pretty much saying, no matter how big the influence outside, as long as there's a voice within you that's louder, you'll continue to listen to that voice instead. If that voice that speaks, you can't. You're the least. You're the weakest. And you repeat that story over and over, no matter how convincing the evidence is on the outside, you will continue to believe that truth inside. So this is obviously a habit book, but isn't it so close to faith? Doesn't it remind our walk with God? And I can see clearly my mentors who've journeyed with God for so long. Whenever I feel defeated, whenever I feel the roadblock, and they see a way out, it's a matter of continuing to listen to the internal voice of God that they've been hearing for over. That's their story. And so when the outside voices tell them, you can't, that's not possible, find another route, their internal voice speaks louder, allows them to overcome. And it's the same way for us. So the peace that we're in need of is not a peace that says, quiet, rest, I just need some peace. But a peace that is so vigilant, it's not a passive trait, but a peace that is always in action, a peace that fights. It surpasses. In Philippians chapter 4, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, give thanksgiving, present your requests to God. So when I was reading that, I thought, when we have a hard time, this is something I should do. This is a nice thing I should do. But as I read James Clear, this is not a cognitive, just a blinded response, but it's an actual initiation. It must be our initiation. No matter how difficult it is, no matter how troubling times can be, this is not just a passive response. It's an active response to say, I choose not to be anxious. I choose to pray. I choose to give thanks in every situation. I will not create circumstances that matches my prayer. My prayer will reflect my belief that my God can and will. And verse 7, and the peace of God, the shalom of God, which transcends, surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus.